Ever wonder why getting your car towed costs so much? Or what the insurance companies don't want you to know after a crash? I spent 35 years in the towing industry, 15 of those building and running companies, and now that I'm out of the game, I've got nothing to hide. I'm giving you the insider advice you need with zero conflict of interest. Be warned though, the stories get raw, just like some of the crash scenes I've been to. I've never been everyone's cup of tea, which is fine by me. I drink coffee anyway. Grab a mug and listen up. You're on the hook with Aussie Tow Talk. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Another episode of Aussie Tow Talk, and in today's episode I'm going to talk a little bit about a hot topic at the moment, and that's the increase or sometimes the decrease of speed limits around Australia. So the topic first got my attention in 2024 when a petition was underway to increase Queensland speed limits from 110 to 130 kilometres an hour on major freeways. Now, I came across this article, which was written by Drive's Catherine Fisk, and found it to be really interesting, actually, I have to be honest. So I've put a link in the description for the article so you can have a look. I've also put a link in the description about minimum speed limits on our freeways, and this was written by Rob Margiat. I hope I've pronounced that properly, big fella. He is also from Drive magazine, and he wrote this in 2023. And look, it was a pretty good read too, and basically what he's saying is that we have signs on our freeways that give us the maximum speed limit, but maybe we should have signs on our freeways that give us the minimum speed limits as well. It's not a bad idea. Both these journalists have had extensive motorsport experience. They've written about motorsports or four-wheel drives, all that kind of stuff for a number of years. But without having too much of a dig at them, how many crashes have they attended to support these articles? And believe me, there's a difference to consider when you see the end results of what speed can do. Now, we can talk about raising or lowering the speed limit without looking, well, we can't actually. We can't talk about it without looking at fatality rates, because speed and even the lack thereof does have an impact. Now, at the time of the 24 article had been written, road deaths in Queensland had gone down, which was one of the reasons the petition was created. However, that didn't last too long, with the Queensland fatality rate up by 10.4% to date. So I'll get into a few more stats a bit later on. Back on topic though, should we be raising the speed limits to 130 kilometres an hour on major freeways? Well, let's have a look at some of the pros. Vehicle safety, admittedly, has come forward in leaps and bounds. Technology, all that kind of stuff, tyre technology, everything, it's all combined into one safety package these days when you drive your car. So in some cases, it wouldn't be a problem cruising down the freeway at a set speed of 130 k's. In the modern car, you get a lot of safety features as standard these days, such as airbags, crumple zones, etc. I've attended crash scenes where the car basically looks like an accordion and the drivers have walked out with minor bruising. Mind you, though, I've also attended crashes where there was not much damage at all and the driver died, so I'm kind of 50-50 with that one. Now, our roads, they're in pretty good nick, and while road conditions around the country is also a hot topic and opinions are divided, the majority of crashes I went to in my 35 years of towing always involved driver error. The road surface basically played no part in the cause of the crash unless it was weather related, so a lot of rain or maybe snow, ice, that kind of stuff. Nothing to do with the actual deterioration of the road itself. Now, vehicle tech is sensational. You have active cruise control, you've got crash alert systems, and more often than not, they can respond to a potential issue faster than a person, in some cases, okay? Now, that's about all I can think about at the moment, but if I missed anything in the pros side of things, let me know in the comments. But now I'm going to move on to the cons. Now, all of the before mentioned pros, like active cruise control, where it controls the speed, can be a con because it can make us lazy drivers. The little lights that come on in our mirrors to let us know there's another car there, really, we should be actively checking them regardless. And just like our mirrors, we should be consistently looking at our speedo too. We shouldn't just be relying on an active cruise control all the time. Things like electric brakes that release and apply automatically is another thing that can make us lazy, because we're relying on the car to do it all for us. And believe it or not, this is something I've seen quite a lot of. People getting out of the cars, thinking the car will automatically, put it in park, apply the handbrake when they open the door, but it doesn't always happen. I've recovered a lot of cars that have rolled away, and this is due to lack of concentration. And even recovered one car twice, because when I recovered it the first time, the driver moved it, got out to pay me, and it rolled away again because he did the very same thing that he had me out there for in the first place. Crazy stuff, right? I know. But most importantly, and I think this is most importantly, is that the majority of us can't stick to the current speed limit as it is. And I'm guilty of this too. I'm not going to lie. We're either doing 10 to 20 kilometres over it, or we're doing 10 to 20 k's under it, generally speaking. And when I say over it or under it, I mean the posted speed limit. So let's get into some stats, and we'll see what some of the figures say. Now, it's important to note, I'm going to be honing in on fatality stats, because this is the worst case scenario for any speed limit increase at the end of the day. Of all the fatal road crashes in the past 12 months, 26.7%, or 331, happened in 100-kilometre zones. It's a 6.5% decrease from the previous year. This was followed by 282 fatal crashes in 60 to 75 kilometre zones, and that's a 13% decrease from the previous year. And this is year to date, mind you. Fatal crashes in 50 kilometre zones had the greatest increase, with more than 30 deaths. So that's a 23.3% increase from 129 to 159. Now, that's, to me, is proof that lowering the speed limit doesn't always work either. So, make up your own mind, and we'll see where we go from there. And you can see some of the key figures for May 2026. Road deaths, all that kind of stuff, and even vulnerable road user deaths. So things basically like pedestrians is what they're honing in here, and it's even on the rise, 2% higher than it was this time last year. So that is a little bit crazy. So now we're going to move on to crash types. Now, you can see here, this will go through the years, right? Most fatal crashes involve a single vehicle, totaling 716 crashes in the past 12 months, ending May of this year. So 50, or just under 58% of all fatal crashes. Now, there were 522 fatal crashes involving multiple vehicles. That's down by just under 9% from the previous year, as you can see there. There's been just under 12% increase for single vehicle crashes, and this is also basically ending of May of this year. So this is basically in the last 12 months, from May last year to May this year. Some pretty interesting statistics there, especially when it comes to single motor vehicle crashes. That 11.7%, that is a substantial increase. A substantial increase. So we're going to go on to remoteness of area now. Now, the majority of road deaths in the last 12 months, 484, so that's around 36.3%, occurred in major cities. Very remote regions made up the smallest, though, reporting 41 deaths, or 3.1%. Always hard to get, accurate statistics from rural crashes and fatalities and stuff like that, because they're not, or believe it or not, they go unreported. A lot of them, a lot of the crashes anyway. Not so much for the fatalities, but a lot of the crashes. But you can see there, just in this next slide there, how that rates their major cities up by 2.5%. And I put that down to possibly the increase of traffic. We do have a lot of cars on our roads these days. So there's a lot of traffic running around in the cities at the moment, and that's pretty much what I put that down to. Next one is gender. So in the past year, around 2.9 times more males than females were involved in fatal crashes. So in the 12 months up to May 2026, 993 men died in crashes, all males, right? So I should say males, compared to 339 females. So the road death count for males increased from 988 to 993. So it's not much of an increase, 0.5%, but I mean, any increase is bad, really, when you're talking about this topic. Compared to the female road deaths, right, which, again, now this is quite a big jump, 2.1%. So 332 to 339 deaths. That's quite large, actually. So the girls are catching up, and that's never a good thing. That's never a good thing at all. But then let's have a look at age group. This is probably more alarming to me than anything else, right? So if you have a look there, you can see there that up to 15 years old, 25.5%. So it's steadily gone from 49, 50, 52, 51, and then to 64. Yeah, that's quite crazy, really. But in the 12-month period ending of May this year, so nearly 30% of road deaths were aged between 25 to 44 years. Now, 25 to 44, that's at an age where we should get it, right? I mean, you can understand things happening. If you look at the 16 to 24 bracket there, I mean, that's 13%, so that's up again. And that's really inexcusable as well. If you base 2025 to 2026 from 208 to 235, 13%, that's a huge leap. But 25 to 44, that's crazy. In 2024, the 45 to 64 age gap was actually quite high, and it's come down. So you can see there, 24 was 300, 2025 was 339. It's come down to 320, so it's decreased by just over 5.5. That's what we want to see more of. It's seriously what we want to see more of. Okay, 80 plus, drivers. That's really unfortunate because that came down in 2024, but it's been steadily rising in 2025 and 2026. And so that's not a good thing at all. But if we move on to our road users, now road deaths are grouped by vehicle type and position to describe deaths by road user type. So by this measure, the deaths were most frequently drivers, with 576 in a 12-month period ending May 26, and that's actually a 2.2% decrease compared to the previous 12 months, so that's always a good thing to see. Motorcyclists were the next most highly represented, with 269 deaths in the period, so that's still a 0.7% decrease. One thing about motorcycles, though, is that there's actually a lot more of them on our roads these days, because people are using them not only for off-road adventure riding, or touring and stuff like that, but with fuel prices, it's actually a lot cheaper to use a motorcycle than it is your car these days. So that would be, and you can see here, if I go down, where is it? If I go down to the motorcyclist there, it has come down, but it's steadily been going up 2022, 2023, 2025, 271 riders lost their lives. I mean, that's just insane to me. But it's come down again to 269, so let's keep that trend going. Now, speed limit deaths. So of all fatal road crashes in the past 12 months, and this is really interesting, right? 331 happened in 100-kilometre zones, and that's a 6.5% decrease from the previous year. Really? That's quite insane. So this was followed by 282 fatal crashes in 60 to 75 kilometre zones, which is also a decrease of 13%, right? But again, as I mentioned earlier, fatal crashes in 50-kilometre zones had the greatest increase, with 30 more deaths, or 23.3%. That's not. So if you look at this slide, there is a real argument for a speed limit increase, even in our 50 kilometre zones. Okay, so and these are all stats that I'm getting off a government website. I'm going to put the link in the description so you can read it for yourself, because it is really, it is really an interesting read. It's really an interesting read. So for the past 12 months, ending in May, the states that have experienced the most road deaths were New South Wales with 365, okay, 8.6 increase on that from 12 months ago, followed by Queensland with 330, and that's nearly a 10.5% increase. So the Australian Capital Territory had the lowest number of deaths in the past 12 months with 15, and that's down by nearly 67%. So far in 2026, the greatest number of deaths have occurred in New South Wales, followed by Queensland. So, I mean, fuck me dead. Is this some sort of new state of origin going on between the two states? What's going on, guys? We got to knock this shit off because people are dying. Based on these stats, do we raise the speed limits, all right? And that's what the topic is today. And look, my answer is a hard no. And I've got two very simple reasons why that is, right? Firstly, we're still killing ourselves on the roads the way the current speed limits are, right? So what the hell are those figures going to look like if we raise the limits? I really shudder to think. And number two, as mentioned earlier, on average, we all go 10 to 20k above the speed limit, generally speaking. And again, as mentioned earlier, myself included at times, I'm going to admit I'm no saint, right? Here's the thing though, and there's no real way to get around this. If we increase the speed limits on major freeways to 130 kilometres an hour, say, all right, does this then mean that some people will continue with that mindset of driving 10 to 20 kilometres an hour above this? So we're now talking about speeds reaching 100 miles an hour, and that's kind of scary. You know, I spent most of my towing days meeting people who were of the opinion, hey, it won't happen to me, but it still did. And it's fair to say that some of these people are no longer with us, you know. And I mean, I've been to some incredible crash scenes. I really have. So the biggest killer on our roads will and always will be the person behind the wheel. And if we can't get that right with our current speed limits the way they are, we're not going to get it right raising them either. I don't know, that's just my opinion though. Let me know what you think. And as always, opinions are very welcome, providing they are constructive and they are non-bullying and you know, basically no smart asses, right? Because this is a serious topic. Let me know what you think. We're also on Spotify, so we've got a link to our Spotify channel in the profile. And again, I want to thank you for watching today. As mentioned, I've posted a link in the description for the statistics that I've spoken about today, and it'll take you straight to the website where I got all these stats from. I've also put the two links in there from the Drive magazine. I want to thank you guys for watching. It's been great catching up with you again. Stay safe, and I will see you all next week.